Hey Annie.
Hey Karen, how are you doing?
Good, good. Happy to be back here with you.
Same.
And we have a fun topic today, one that's close to both of our hearts.
Yeah, we're going to talk
Yeah,
about the Bowspring method and how you can use it during pregnancy to really prepare yourself for birth and
yeah,
to open up the pelvic floor.
yeah. And also actively while you're giving birth, right? There's so
Yeah.
much wisdom in that it just makes everything so much easier is a hard word to say for birth, but smoother, I
Yeah,
guess would be a nice one.
in best case. But you have 5 kids, right?
I have 5 kids, yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't know about the bowspring while giving birth to the first or the two first? Tell me.
The three first, yeah. So I had three children before I discovered Bowspring. I was doing some yoga. I did yoga since I was like 15. But then I discovered Bowspring later, and we talked about that in our first podcast. But I had the other two children already active in Bowspring, teaching Bowspring, and really having all of that wisdom and knowledge. And you have two kids, right?
Yes, I have two, and I had them both, yeah, many years after discovering the bowspring. So
So
I
you
was lucky to know about the bowspring when I got pregnant with my first.
you had all the wisdom.
Yeah, still learning, but yes.
So do you want to share a little bit about like your pregnancy and how it felt and how Bowspring helped you and things that you could identify through the
Yeah,
lens of Bowspring while you were pregnant?
sure. So I had a regular practice before I got pregnant, and both of my pregnancies have been really smooth. I was really fortunate to have like healthy, smooth pregnancies. Like the worst I had was the reflux, but like no nausea, no pelvic pain, like nothing. I got heavier,
Oh, lucky.
obviously, but yeah, I had really good, healthy pregnancies, which made it possible for me to continue with a regular practice and also relatively advanced practice.
Yeah.
And what I found being so like we work with the opening of the pelvic floor and the elasticity of the pelvic floor in Bowspring and with the hip mobility and widening your hips. And all of
Yeah.
that just felt so good during pregnancy.
Yeah.
And just like to really bow your belly forward. I mean, it grows in that shape. Like it really, if this is the lumbar curve, and the belly is just like making that curve deeper. And so it just felt so natural to continue as I got bigger with my belly.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was playing a bit with like wider positions of my knees to open up and to give more space for the body. Um, but really to have that lengthening of the central channel that we work with in the bowspring from the pelvic floor to the top of your crown, and to have that lengthening and opening at once and to widen the hips back behind you felt so good and really helped me to get into like birth mode of like widening, like internally rotate your femur and open up the pelvic floor behind you
Yeah.
because that's really what we have to do when we give birth.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky. And actually, with my firstborn, I was basically in humble cat. I probably didn't do a dome hand or a rest, but I was on one knee and the other foot was like on the floor. And then I shifted from side to side as he came down through the birth canal. And
Wow.
I felt really helped me to like widening while I moved in those positions. So yeah, I can recommend that. uh, yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty awesome because it's exactly what you're describing. Like that's what the body naturally needs to do. What we do in Bowspring, your hips have to widen, they have to broaden. You have to open your pelvic floor. You have to learn how to tone it. You have to get space in your ribs. Even I remember with my firstborn, before I knew Bowspring, they taught us in those birthing classes how to breathe wide through your ribs because you don't have enough space. Your diaphragm can't move like it's usually moving, and so you have to learn to breathe wide. And
mm,
that's what we teach everyone, in Bowspring is to learn to breathe wide, to use the entirety of your rib cage, and then obviously to get longer so you create space for the baby, so that Because when you think about what's happening in the body in pregnancy, it's crazy. All of your organs are shifting. You know, your whole internal space is completely changed and transformed to make room for a growing human. You know, when they come out and you see how big and fully formed they are, that's like, I can't believe I grew that inside of me, you know? And so we need all the space that we can get.
Yeah.
And the baby needs all the space that the baby can get. And that's what, you know, one of the best things that we get from Bowspring is the spaciousness, is the elongated central channel, the space between each vertebrae, the space between your hips and your ribs. So it's really beautiful how it mirrors, you know, what we teach without pregnancy, what we teach to everyone
Mhm.
is to widen the hips, to lift the ribs, and to get longer through your central channel.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, the practice, like it doesn't really change. Like you can modify obviously positions and work with wider legs, wider
Yeah.
knees to accommodate the space that you have
Yeah.
to have. But like you say, it's the same alignment, so it's like so beneficial, pregnant or not.
Uh-huh.
And it's really that elongation of the central channel, like separating the ribs between from the hips, like it creates more space for the belly, and then the belly can bow, like in the pregnancy, it can just open up more. And
Yeah.
working with the wide breathing with the diaphragm, because we can see how the diaphragm really mirrors the pelvic floor.
Yeah.
It's like one trampoline, and even the vocal cords and how it all connects through the vagus nerve. So when we work with that widening through the deep, like lateral breathing, it also helps it up to balance out the pelvic floor, really.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing that I love about Bowspring with pregnancy, first of all, the pictures are insane. The Bowspring pictures when you're pregnant, aren't they so beautiful, right? Like just to see the bump and you just see like so many waves and at double S curve, it's beautiful. But that just, I was just saying that because it came up to me. But really, it's like the signs and the information that you can get. You know, when you're pregnant, I remember with my fourth child when I was pregnant. And that's after I knew Bowspring. And I'd find myself walking around the kitchen with like clenched glutes, like tight, you know, squeezing my butt cheeks together. And I'm like, what? How could that ever happen? Like, I've trained myself out of this. Like, I don't do that anymore. Why am I doing this? And then I remember John Friend said, yeah, it's one of like it's a instinctual reaction that when you're uncomfortable, you'll close your pelvic floor, you'll clench everything super tight. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And so it's like it almost like gives you imagery or pictures or, you know, like you're trying to map a sensation or a feeling that you're going through. And then Bowspring gives you like this highlight, this flashlight, this like, oh, look, you know, you're feeling uncomfortable because I was feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't want to say, oh, I feel, you know, miserable, uncomfortable, whatever. You know, you're going about your day, you're in your kitchen, you're doing dishes, whatever. What's uncomfortable about that? But then Bowspring gives you this lens, this mirror to say, okay, well, it's because of this process that you're going through, and here are the steps to course correct, to move away from that, to step away from that. And I think that's so important because, you know, we were talking about it today in class. Like, we'll all feel a little low, we'll all feel a little down, we'll all feel a little sad, we'll all feel a little out of our best shape or moment in time. But and that's okay to let that happen, to feel that, to see that. But then it gives us a map of how to move away from that, how to solve that, how to, you know, okay, so you're clenching your glutes, you're closing your pelvic floor, you're uncomfortable, you're pregnant, it's your fourth pregnancy, you know, you're
Mhm.
39, I was 39 at the time, you know, these are all real things and they're happening right now. What do? You know, ground down through your feet, breathe into your pelvic floor, allow yourself to open and expand, you know, like do all of the steps. I have that knowledge, I can course correct. And then the nervous system settles and you just feel so much better, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and the practice can really help you to be more comfortable with your pregnant body
Yeah, exactly.
because
Yeah.
the shapes, the even more shapes that are coming with the pregnancy, they are so natural and they are around our natural curves that we really are embracing in this practice. So then to grow like physically while practicing is such a beautiful thing to feel the
Yeah.
belly opening more, and we are lengthening the abdominal muscles. with and you don't contract and squeeze and shorten, and you learn how to open that pelvic floor through the practice and through the alignment, through the curviness. And I just felt like I needed to slow down the pace in the practice and to yeah do some modifications for sure, but it was such a beautiful thing to feel like okay, the belly's really moving in with that curve, like it's really bowing forward, and then to lengthen, like we just said, like the ribs away from the hips really helped me to feel that like the lightness and that I could breathe
Wow.
because you
Yeah.
feel kind of it's
Yeah.
you can be like short
Short
of
of
breath,
breath.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it can feel heavy.
It's
So
for
it was
real.
really helping to open up and to feel lightness and
Yeah.
in the body.
I think that's a key word that you just used now, like feeling heavy. I think that's something that naturally to people that are pregnant, women that are pregnant, we feel so heavy when we're pregnant. It's like there's even I think a mental component to it. I remember with my, as the pregnancies kind of moved forward, third pregnancy and whatever, the belly kind of comes out faster, and you're kind of trying to push it out so that you just don't look mildly overweight. You're actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like when you push your belly out like that, and it makes it even heavier. You're like everything just is in this direction of heaviness, and Bowspring gives us this opportunity not to feel heavy and
Mm,
to actually like lift the ribs and lengthen the belly and not have to push. It's a mental emotional thing that you're going through when you're pregnant. I don't know if it happened to you too, but you're like trying to push that belly out there, almost kind of like I don't know, like encourage the push out. But then Bowspring is like, well, 1 second, you can let it go. You can let it go for a minute, but then lift it and lengthen and see what you get. See this gift of tensegrity, of lightness, of zero gravity effect that you get from using this algorithm, from using this map, and then you don't have to feel heavy. And then
mm,
your steps are not weighted. And then you're not like stomping around the house where everybody can hear you when you're moving. You're actually light and on your, the front of your foot and just like moving with lightness. Did you go through something like that, or you're never like,
no, but I was pregnant twice, not five. I think there's a difference, but I for sure experienced that the second pregnancy, the belly would move and grew
quick?
faster. I mean, the tissues know what to do. The body has been through it once.
Mm.
Um, but I think what you said about like feeling the lightness and working with the tensegrity in the practice also really helps you like to keep healthy posture, because with the belly moving forward, like the gravity shifts like in your body, and then it's easy to sink into the lower back curve, like to collapse in it. But with the broadening of the ribs and the elongation of the central channel, and also really the when you turn on the posterior chain to support the front, then it's
Yeah.
really it can be light, it can be smooth, you can keep a healthy posture with the
Yeah.
I found in pregnancy. Um,
Right. I like the word you use, support, because that's, I think, what it gives the most, like, because it's like that feeling of that you're growing and growing. What's going to support me? What's going to hold all this weight? How am I going to, you're gaining so much weight. And it's just like, for me, it was pretty challenging to gain all that weight. And that sensation of support, of like the hugging of the tissue towards the bones and towards the belly is just so healing, even for the mind, for the emotional body, for the mind, and definitely physically, of course.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember with my second kid, like the day before I gave birth, I took your class. And I think I was upside down. I mean, bear in mind, I had a really easy, like healthy pregnancy, but still that felt so natural and so good to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was doing videos with my fourth. I was like recording videos, before, just so I had something to show for my pregnancy. And I was doing all the, wave pose, all the complex back bends, all the things. And I mean, I think that's just so amazing, right? That we can continue with our practice, do all the complex things, still feel light, still feel healthy, still feel strong, and maybe even get stronger for
Mm.
the birth, be prepared for the birth.
Yeah,
The
totally.
other thing I want to say on that of like preparation for birth is that I think that if I go back to the pregnancies before that I had, before I knew Bowspring, the idea of what it means to open your pelvic floor and what is actually happening is elusive.
Mm.
People just don't get it. What do you mean sit the femur bones back and open your, and what are you talking about? Like, what does that actually feel like? Like that, the sensation of when you're wrapping your glutes onto, you're like mounting them onto the sacrum and that wrap sensation. It takes a while to understand that sensation. It takes a while to feel it. But when you know it, then that's what's happening when you're trying to get the baby out. If you can keep the pelvic floor so open and if you can, keep the back body working when you're going through such an ordeal, an emotional challenge, I mean, physical, emotional, spiritual, all of it, challenge, everything,
Yeah.
then that, really will help. I think, just understanding your pelvic floor, getting any kind of relationship to it.
Yeah. And to really use, like, embrace that, like, at the anterior tip of the pelvis,
Hmm.
the hips back and broad, but also like how many, I don't know, modalities when you train the pelvic floor, it's like two different settings. It's either you squeeze, you contract, or you release and relax like entirely. There's like
Yeah.
no in between, I find, with the what I've been practicing before. But in the bowspring is like you work the elasticity of the tissues, and you learn how to open and to tone, like the soft long strong even in your pelvic floor, like to lengthen, to broaden, to widen, and then to find the tone. And you work with elasticity in the tissues. And I think that's really helpful for giving birth, because then they are more like givable, like they've been practicing like that opening and closing in a more dynamic way.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Yeah. It's like you're not discovering it for the first time when you're in this, birthing moment or when you're pregnant. You actually know it, and then you can activate it, you can use it, you can have a relationship with it, with your pelvic floor, with everything that's happening.
yeah.
That's, I think that's really an amazing gift that we give to people. And I can even relate that to something else because it's a very mental thing giving birth, it's physical, it's all the things all at once, but also with my last one, I was trying to do this technique of like birthing without pain. And obviously very challenging to do as you're giving birth, but before that, you can tap into that. And I think that a lot of that stems from the mind body awareness that we build in Bowspring, like really, understanding where you are in space and how you're moving your body and what every body part is doing. And then, you can separate yourself from that and not like go too deep into pain and like succumb to pain, succumb to the challenge, succumb to whatever is happening in life, in this instance, birth, right? And you can rise above that and still be present and still be with it, but not like, not give your whole power to this pain or to what's happening, but just kind of um yeah, like for me it felt like, you just stay above it. You don't let it drag you down. You keep your ribs full, you keep your, consciousness where it needs to be, and then you're above the pain, which allowed me to, I had him pretty quick. My last one, my fifth one,
Was
didn't
it
even make it to the delivery room. What
like
was it?
almost in the car?
Almost in the car. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As they pulled up the wheelchair, I was like, I'm not holding this baby in. His head was already crowning. So
Oh,
that
wow.
was it. Yeah. But I
Wow.
mean, that's also what I wanted. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to be connected to things. And,
Yeah.
I think it's a different birthing experience in the US and Sweden, the way they give you
Yeah,
all.
yeah, potentially. I mean, here I think general is like very trendy. We call it physiological birth, like natural birth, what you mentioned, without any like medications or
Right.
interventions. Both of my births was like that, and I had my second one in a birth pool in water, which was amazing,
Mm.
in kneeling. And that also happened really fast. Once it like really started and the water broke, she was like out. Um, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, but about the body mind awareness, I think if you have that practice, it's so beneficial for you to just like stay in touch with your sensations and the mental dialogue going on as you're going
Yeah,
through the birth process, how you can like be your best cheerleader and how you can calm
yeah,
yourself down, how you can tell yourself that you're safe and that you got
yeah,
this, all of that
yeah,
can
yeah.
be so valuable.
And
Because,
those are all things that we practice on the daily in Bowspring. Like that's, that's part of that gift.
yeah,
Yeah,
and all of that self-talk for sure.
yeah. Yeah, I know it's and obviously, we're not promising anyone an easy and simple birth or easy and simple pregnancy. Everybody's body is different, but definitely for sure 100% Bowspring can help alleviate a lot of pain, a lot of aches, a lot of discomfort that comes up from pregnancy, a lot of heaviness for sure, 100%, and then give you a lot of tools that you can use. And obviously not just for birth, but that's a big thing. And I do think that it matters how the children come into the world. And I also had unmedicated birth, all five. But what I was comparing is that we didn't have an option for a pool. I'd either have to go to a birthing center that does specifically
Yeah,
that, or you know yeah, and obviously always like a financial decision, right? Because one costs so much and one costs nothing. And so I had to make those decisions for my family, but I didn't have any negative experiences on any of the five, but I can say that definitely knowing Bowspring for my last two transformed the birth process, transformed the pregnancy process, the poses that I could do, the ease that I could move with, the just the natural healing, the ability to practice right after and until the day you give birth. I mean, it's just, it's a gift. It's a gift
yeah,
to anyone and
yeah.
to those who are pregnant for sure.
Yeah. And we also talked earlier a little bit about if someone without bowspring experience can start
Mhm.
practicing bowspring while pregnant. Um, and they usually say like you shouldn't start anything new, any new practice or any new exercise regime when you're pregnant. But if you start with like bowspring elementals, I think that could be really helpful. Like to get in
Yeah.
touch with your body, to like feel the pelvic floor where you have the hips and the ribs and to like feel that hopefully like ease and lightness in the body and how you can support yourself and your body in the pregnancy.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I think that's good that you're saying it that way because it's like you don't have to go full on, full power to the most, that wouldn't be beneficial, but even just the most basic elements, the most basic things and practices from Bowspring can be beneficial, can be helpful for this journey. And so definitely join and then of course be in tune with your body and know what you can or what is good, what you can, how deep you can take it at this moment, and then stay with us after because the
Yeah,
gifts are
yeah. And we have
really
a Bowspring
wonderful.
student right now who's pregnant and
Yeah.
regularly. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had one just recently that joined after just listening to a different podcast where we talked about pregnancies, and she was like, "I want to feel light in my pregnancy. I want to feel less heavy,"
Mhm.
and you definitely can. So
Yeah.
great thing. Do you
Well,
want to
thank
leave everyone with like one little thing to do? If you're pregnant and just right now listening.
I think working with the breath and the lengthening of the central channel can be huge for how you feel in your body. So if you imagine like imaginary elastic tube from the pelvic floor to the top of your crown. So with your breath, you elongate that and you're lengthening and you lift your ribs away from your hips and widening through the rib cage. Rib cage. I think just that, do that on a regular basis can be really feel really good.
Yeah.
How
And
about you?
I'll give something similar and kind of like marrying a few things that we talked about last time. Just like if you're seated in a chair now and listening, even if you're driving, you lift one glute up, you lift the other glute up. You breathe wide through your rib cage, and not if you're driving, but if you can use both of your hands and ecstasy, like at the sides of your head, and you just lengthen the belly and look up and just breathe wide.
Yeah.
It feels divine. Just that simple little thing, and you can feel your belly stretch. You can feel yourself getting longer, more open, and you breathe, more freely,
Yeah.
smooth.
Well, thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.